our earth is turning? How do we sleep while our beds are burning? How can we dance when our earth is turning? How do we sleep while our beds are burning? The time has come to say fair's fair, to pay the rent now, to pay our share. Hello everybody, welcome to Dulcimerica. My name is Futch. Thank you very much for joining me for another look, some insight into playing the mountain dulcimer. And this episode is going to be very special because it is the first, I tell you, in 12 years that I've done on singing with the mountain dulcimer. You'd think I would have done this by now because this is basically what I do a lot of, but I did one earlier for my patrons on Patreon this week. Just a short little thing, about 9 minutes. But it received such a great response, I figured I'd go ahead and do an expanded look at how to sing with your mountain dulcimer for Dulcimerica. So thanks for being here, and we'll get to that right in a second. But speaking of Patreon, I'm going to say hello to Meg Comstock, who just recently joined up. Meg, I want to thank you very much for joining up and being a part of my art. Already, you're making a huge difference by being a part of this collective. And I hope you're enjoying all of the stuff that you're finding in the Patreon vault, all this stuff that you can explore. And if a lot of people have been hearing about the Patreon thing recently, not exactly sure what it is, basically it's a subscription service for my art. All my music, video, tablature, books, it's all yours. All my self-published works for $5 per month, and everything that I create new. That means every new album, every new track that comes out is yours. Even the demos, the behind the scenes stuff, the light and raw and rough copies, the rarities, they're all yours for $5 a month. The more you pledge per month, the more you subscribe in those higher reward tier levels, the more you get. And you can check it all out right down here at patreon.com/bingfutch. Go to the featured tag section, check out the open house, download to your heart's content, and do consider becoming a part of my art, just like Meg. Again, Meg, thank you very much. So I kicked off the show with some Midnight Oil, one of the tunes I like to cover when I'm doing shows out there in the resorts and bars and pubs and clubs. And you can do any kind of music with the mountain dulcimer. It makes it very easy to do this. But there are certain things you want to think about. This is a very simple thing to do once you get the hang of it. And I'll give you some pointers on how to get to that starting place. But it's a bit like juggling, because we already have our right hand and our left hand working in conjunction to play the instrument. Then we're adding a third element, which is the voice. And juggling all three of those can be tricky, but once you develop some secrets, you'll have no problem launching in and doing what you want to do, which is sing with the mountain dulcimer. So let's start off with the obvious thing, and that's going to be posture. Ideally, a lot of singing teachers or voice coaches will tell you that the best singing is going to happen when you're standing up, because that is going to make sure that everything is nice and aligned and straight, so that the air can come from your lungs, go up through the windpipe, through the vocal cords, past the vocal cords, and out through your mouth. When we're sitting and playing the instrument, we tend to hunch a little bit. And if we're actually looking at our fingers a lot, that means that we're going to be looking down, which is going to take this area and it's going to sort of complicate it a bit with a curve. You can still sing that way, but it's not ideal. So you want to do a couple of things to make sure that your posture is as good as possible. And this also depends on whether or not you're using a microphone to sing. If you're just singing without having to direct your voice into a microphone, you can get away with kind of looking down like this and singing. But as much as you can kind of keep your chest out and your shoulders back while you're doing that, that'll help you quite a bit. If you're using a microphone, of course, you've got to be able to direct your voice into the microphone. A couple of things I use is when I've got a microphone, instead of having it come straight on towards me, I've got it pointed upwards like this, towards my mouth. So that if I do have to look down and do anything, the direction of my voice will go into the microphone, as opposed to a microphone going this way. You tilt your head down and you're missing it entirely. So if you are singing with a microphone, microphone placement is very important, and come from up under to where you're singing as opposed to coming down or straight at. But do try and keep yourself from looking down as much as possible, which means you really need to know the song that you're playing. Ideally, you want to have it memorized. You want to be able to play it blindfolded. You don't want to have to look at your fingers at all. Now, there are a couple of different ways of going about this. You can just sing a song and provide a rhythm in the form of chords and nothing complex going on down there, and that's pretty easy to play by touch. You know, I can take a song like, let me think now, shoot, why not, Boiled-in Cabbage. Without looking down at your hands, see if you can play Boiled-in Cabbage and sing. Boiled-in cabbage down, boys, turn them whole cakes around. The only song that I can sing is boiled-in cabbage down, boys. That's pretty easy because that's a 3-chord song, and as long as you can feel your way across the first 3 frets of the mountain dulcimer and know where all of your 1, 4, and 5 chords are, the most popular major chords in the world, then you don't have to look at your hands, and looking out and singing and having good posture is very easy. But what if you're playing a song that actually has melody that you're going to be trying to matching your singing along with the melody? Sometimes you may have to look down to make sure that you're going to be right at the right place at the right time. But you can combine that with looking up once you know what's going on. Good example of that would be Norwegian Wood by the Beatles. So a lot of the time I'm singing that and playing that, I'm just playing the chords. I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me. She showed me her room, isn't it good, Norwegian Wood. So you see there that not only am I playing chords, I'm also singing in unison along with the melody, and a couple of times I look down to make sure that my fingers are going to go where they need to go, and then I look right back up again. That's perfectly acceptable. Sometimes you just have to make sure that you know what's going on, especially if the melodies that you're playing are all over the fretboard. Just be very careful not to choke off your windpipe too much, because that's going to affect how you are singing. So getting back to it, very, very important to know the song that you're playing. If you are stuck on a piece of paper, you're reading the music and the lyrics at the same time, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to pull this off. But if you've got it in your memory, in your head, and in your heart, then all you have to do is sing, play, and present, and everything should be fine. So let's look very closely at a couple of different ways that you can do this. Number one is playing with just your chords and rhythm to accompany, and you are providing the melody through your voice. So what I was telling my patrons earlier this week is it's a good idea to have a nice, stock, simple rhythm that you can use, a catch-all rhythm that you can use whenever you want to jump into a tune. And this allows you to have something that you can set and forget, as the phrase goes. You don't want to have to be thinking about rhythm. You've got a lot of other things to think about here. The rhythm should be something you feel, and it should be something that comes natural to you. So one of the rhythms I like to use a lot sounds something like this. 1, 2, 3, banana, 4, 5, 6, banana, 1, 2, 3, banana, 4, 5, 6, banana. So that's my little deal. And what is that exactly? It's a very, very simple beat. And what we've got going on here are mostly these quarter note beats. 1, 2, 3. And in reality, what's happening there, we've got a quarter note, another quarter note, and then we've got 4 eighth notes. And what we do with those 4 eighth notes is swing them to give them a little bit of a nice groovy get along. So I could count that as 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so I'm swinging the 8 notes to make it bouncy. You can also play it straight. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and for a more straight feeling piece of music. Since that's very, very simple, what it does is the quarter notes support the melody no matter what you're doing. And the 8 notes give you just a little bit of a chug at the end of every measure. And that chug can be replaced with the number of 8 notes or 16th notes that are actually in the melody. Here's a good example. This is Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash. I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling round the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on, but that train keeps a-rolling all down the sand. So it fits in, that little giddy up fits in, but it doesn't take over the song because it's a complicated rhythm. Because it's a simple rhythm, it supports everything that's going on. And I'll make little changes based on the melody. For example, here's the solo section from that tune, and watch how I alter the 1, 2, 3 banana rhythm. Underlying all of that is 1, 2, 3 banana. All of that. But I change it up when the melody calls for me to do something different. Or I put accents in where it needs to be present. What I'm saying here is that melody is king. And everything that we do supports the melody. Whether we're playing it or singing it, everything should support it. And you should really be thinking about 1 strum, 1 pick, 1 pluck per melody note. And I like to divide that up in my strings. If my melody's happening on the melody string, then I use fill-in rhythms on the bass and middle string and leave the melody string alone. And that's some of what you were seeing and hearing in playing that right there. But really, the foundation for all of that is 1, 2, 3 banana, because it's got that kind of standard, old-time, country, bluegrassy, get up and go, but it's a very unsophisticated and a very unfussy rhythm. 1, 2, 3 banana, and that can be altered depending on what your melody is and how you want to inflect accents in the song. Let me see if I can give you another example in that range. How about this one, Red-Headed Lover by Bruce Springsteen. Well, brunettes are fine, man, blondes are fun, but when it comes to getting a dirty job done, I'll take a red-headed woman. Red-headed woman. It takes a red-headed woman to get a dirty job done. So once again, it's there to support everything that you're doing. And because it's a catch-all, because I can just jump in there and do it and make every so little tiny alterations to it, that means that I don't have to think a lot about what's happening with my right hand. This can just go, go, go. And then I can focus on what I'm doing, changing chords with my left hand and also what I'm doing with the voice. For very, very basic songs where you're just playing the chords and you're supplying your own rhythm, you are the drums, you are the percussion for the tune. So a lot of what you do to make that tune interesting and exciting is going to happen with the right hand, with your rhythm, and also with your left hand moving those chords around. They work together in conjunction, and then you bring your voice over the top. So try not to think about this. So whatever song you're working on, discover what kind of rhythm you're going to want to use for that. And then practice that rhythm and practice playing the tune without singing over and over again until it's absolutely automatic. You don't even have to think about it, you just simply go into it. Now, that rhythm will change depending on the tune. Let's take it back to Norwegian Wood for a second. Norwegian Wood being in 3/4 time, it's got a different feel. And the rhythm I use here, you could even see it as being an adaptation of 1, 2, 3 banana. Here's what I'm doing with Norwegian Wood. Here's the very, very basic strum. 1 ba da da da, 2 ba da da da, 3 ba da da da, 4 ba da da da, 1, 2 and 3 and 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 same basic concept. We've got a very, very simple downbeat, and then we've got these 8 notes that give us a little bit of energy in there, and you can stop and start, add or subtract with that when you're playing the tune itself. I would practice playing whatever it is that you want to play as slow as possible, and then try to make it so that you can do it even while you're having a conversation like I'm having with you right now. Do it to where you can do it in the dark. And then, I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me. Let's take a song with a different groove altogether. How about For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield? Now that is a more complicated rhythm, to be sure. So where am I getting that rhythm from? I'm getting it from my memory of listening to this great tune by Buffalo Springfield. So if you've ever sat in traffic and listened to your favorite song on the radio, and you've got your hands on the wheel, and you're popping like this, you are the drummer. Doesn't matter if you're playing all the right things or not, you know the drum solo to In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. You know all the Neil Peart drum solos from all the Rush songs. You know how it all goes, right? So you got both hands moving. The idea here is to do the same thing that you're doing on your steering wheel or on your desk at work or on the counter in the kitchen, and transfer all of that energy into your strumming hand alone. So, you know, if you know the drum part goes something like this, what we have there is a combination of beats, rests, and accents. The beats, obviously, the rests where we're not doing that, and the accents, playing things a little bit louder than everything else. Take that whole area, take that whole mishmash of stuff, hear the drums in your head, transfer the drums to your right hand, and then just go without playing any chords and see if what you do provides a nice foundation for the song that you want to play. The trick I'm using right here to not have the drone all the way open is called a right hand palm mute. I'm using the heel of my hand, laying it down on the bridge, rolling it forward, and applying a damper, a mute, to the strings. It gives me a different tone and texture. It also gives me more control over the drone, so I'm not going wide open drone all the time. With wide open drone all the time, you're not going to get rests. You're not going to get staccato notes. You're not going to be able to hear the accents nearly as well because you've got more and more drone every single time you hit the strings. This is a control mechanism. It's also a coloration mechanism for giving you different types of textures. You can lay on as hard or as light as you want to. Once I've got a rhythm that feels good in my right hand, and I can do it and not have to think about it, I can apply my chords over here. And I can arrange those chords, accent those chords, and when I feel comfortable, there's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Let's take another tune entirely. Let's take With or Without You by U2. As we know from that song, it's a very straight quarter note kind of piece. Adam is playing very, very straight notes on the bass. It doesn't have a swing to it. There's no bounce. It just rolls straight through, and so that's what I'm going to use. Just straight notes. And those are some of the easiest ones to play. Once you know where your chords are going, you can have some fun with it. See the storm set in your eyes. See the thorn twist in your side. I wait for you. So forth and so on. Just to give you a few ideas of what you can do to take your favorite songs that are very, very simple as far as the rhythms and playing the chords. Now, one thing I want to mention here is that everything I've done so far has been in the key of D or D minor, open fretboard. D major is a very, very difficult key to sing in for whatever reason, for both men and for women. And because mountain dulcimer players have been, for whatever reason, stuck in the C of D, as I call it, for a number of years. We used to be in the key of C, traditionally speaking, which is easier on the voice. For whatever reason, we're in D, and we often try and learn songs in this key, even though it's not the ideal key for us to be singing in. So what you really want to try and do is find out what your home key is, and then tune your dulcimer or capo your dulcimer so that you're playing in a key that's better suitable for, or better suited for your voice. Here's one little trick that I was taught to help you figure out what your most restive voice, most comfortable voice is going to be. That's going to be your chest voice. That's going to be the voice that you talk with on a daily basis. When we sing, we tend to get into our throats, which is not real good, and then there's the head voice, and we start getting up into the higher registers, and that's fun. But the chest voice is where we have the most resonance down here. So to find out what key is that you might be most comfortable singing in, try this. Pretend you're looking across the street and you see somebody you know, and you want to say, hey, and get their attention. Look across the street, and it's not like a football field. It's just right across the street. Hey, don't even think about it. Don't try and pitch what you're saying. Just look across the street and go, hey. Do it again. Hey. Then extend that note. Hey. Somewhere in that range. Then take a tuner with a microphone and do that. Hey. And right about in there is your chest voice range. I found out that mine is right about A flat, which means that I sing most comfortably when I've got capo 4 or when I'm playing with a baritone mountain dulcimer. Now if I can get that capo on there correctly. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. That's very, very comfortable. There's no strain. In fact, for me, in that song anyway, because I'm used to singing it in D now, that's almost too low. But it gives you an idea of how to find the sweet spot for your voice. And by all means, especially if you have more than one mountain dulcimer, get one tuned the way you like it. You don't have to learn any new chord shapes, although you may have to learn a whole new set of notes for your dulcimer. But bear in mind that anything that we play across the strings, D, A, D, E, B, E, G, D, G, A, E, A, B, F sharp, B, those are all tunings that we can use and still keep the very same chord shapes and positions. So if you've got a piece of music that's already tabbed out for D-A-D tuning, but you're finding it very difficult to sing in the key of D, find out what your home key is, tune your bass string to that, and then accordingly go 1, 5, 8, meaning whatever your bass string is, go up 5 notes in the scale from there for your middle string, and then go to the octave for your melody string, and then play it that way. You'd be surprised at what that will yield. In fact, if you have a baritone dulcimer, try that. Many people find it much easier to sing with the baritone because it's in the key of A rather than the key of D. I hope that makes a lot of sense right there. And if not, I'll cover that in a completely different Dulcimerica later on. Okay, so let's take a look at something else now. Let's say you don't just want to sing and play rhythm. Let's say you actually want to play melody. Let's say you actually want to do intricate things with the dulcimer. Again, I think it really falls down to learning the song inside and out, forwards and backwards. The better you know the song, the less it's going to be jarring for you to make those transitions between singing and then playing. I did this a couple of weeks ago, but I'll do it again. Willie Nelson, On the Road Again. So I'll go from there and I'll just start off by playing chords. On the road again, just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends, and I can't wait to get on the road again. Then I'll start playing. So there you're doing a trading off. You're singing, and then you're soloing, and then you're going back. But, you know, much the same way as Jean Ritchie did with a lot of songs, where she would sing and play the melody at the same time. That's a very traditional style of playing the dulcimer. And again, it involves you knowing that song as well as you possibly can and feeling comfortable with singing it, and then feeling comfortable with playing it, and then matching it together. My suggestion for learning to do that is to play it nice and slow and go note by note. Let's take Shady Grove, for example, a great traditional tune. Shady Grove, my true love, Shady Grove, I say, Shady Grove, my true love, my love's gone away. Don't worry about rhythm, just make sure that your voice and your fingers move at the same time, as slowly as possible. And what you're doing there is you're building muscle memory, yes, even in your voice here. And once you feel like that dance has come together, then you pick up the pace a bit more and a bit more until Shady Grove, my true love, Shady Grove, I say, Shady Grove, my true love, my love born away. And then you end up doing a nice old traditional approach to playing the mountain dulcimer. Another way of playing the dulcimer and singing is by interjecting bits of melody, licks, and other changes in between bits when you're playing. This requires a bit more concentration, but it's very, very fun and very rewarding. A good example of that would be Margaritaville by Jimmy Buffett. I play a lot of the licks and leads for this tune, and so let me take it from the chorus. Wasting away again in Margaritaville, Some people claim that there's a woman to blame, but I know it's nobody's fault. Of course, something like that takes a bit more practice. It takes you creating an arrangement specifically for the purpose of singing it and presenting it someplace, and then working through when you're going to throw in those little licks and those extra bits and how it all comes together. So there are three very, very different dynamic approaches to singing with your mountain dulcimer. One, just simply strumming, having a nice set rhythm that you can work with, and you can use that as an all-purpose rhythm to get you started before altering that rhythm into something that will suit the song, because we're there once again to support the melody, and everything we do should support the melody, whether we're singing it or playing it. Then you've got where you're playing the melody and singing the melody at the same time. Not as hard as it seems, as long as you start off nice and slow and practice it, singing and playing, until you feel confident enough to put it all together and then add your strums in later. And finally, there's the version I just showed you, which is more complicated. It involves you singing, playing, and adding in stuff in between verses and choruses, and that just takes you, again, moving very, very slowly at first, establishing what it is you want to accomplish and what kind of arrangement you want to make happen, and then putting it all together and then rehearsing it. Of course, I cannot say that I can't say enough, that this will all come together with as much practice as you can throw at it. Practice, practice, practice. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And believe it or not, the more you do it in public, the easier it gets. Because one thing I haven't spoken about with all of this so far is the fact that many of you who are trying to sing with the mountain dulcimer have never done it before. And you might be a little frightened by the promise of getting in front of people and singing and playing your instrument. What if you mess up? What if it isn't good enough? What if people don't like it? The bottom line here is, doesn't matter. As long as you're up there doing it, as long as you are making an effort, as long as you are trying, you are succeeding. You are winning, you are scoring, you are getting ahead in life by pushing ahead with it. Don't worry about what other people are going to think or say. Just go up there and do it and have fun. If you're having fun, they're going to love it too, as long as that's it. If you're up there and you're grimacing or you're apologizing for how it sounds or whatever, it's not great for everybody, or anybody really, especially not for you. So go easy on yourself, practice a lot, and then share. Be proud to get up there and sing with your instrument, because you've got one of the most unique instruments in the world on your lap, or maybe even holding it on a strap, and you're singing along with it. It just doesn't get much better than that. So I hope this has been helpful to you, and I will dig into other elements of singing and playing the mountain dulcimer at a future time. Sorry it took 12 years to get to this point, but there will be more coming up very, very soon. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful time out there with your music. And until next time, I dropped my pick. That's not how I plan to sign off. Until next time, my friends, this is Bing Futch. We'll see ya soon. Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. Heaven, let your light shine down. Whoa. Heaven, let your light shine down. Whoa. Heaven, let your light shine down. Whoa. Heaven, let your light shine down.